It was our house for 24 years. That's like where I lived like my whole life. Like I literally grew up in the house. That was all of my childhood memories. And one day there was just like the garage itself got like overheated. There was like a spark, and then the spark caught a flame, and the flame hit a gas pipe, and it exploded into the house.
Your house.
It was just our house. Literally no other houses on the block, like just our house. And I was in LA when it happened.
Wow.
And so right when my mom called my brother and I, we literally just got in the car and drove down like to the house, because it's only like an hour and a half. So we drove down to our house and just like watched all of the smoke and flames, and literally our house burning. And through all of it, I mean, looking now, it's been about 2 years. So it was just this whole like story. And then the craziest thing is, I could literally talk about this for an hour. What God has done since then, the testimony of that song, but even just what I've learned, like that song, Josh.
Talk about it.
Yes, so Josh ended up releasing on his album, and so when we went on tour, it like people from all around the world were coming up to me saying, "Your song has helped me. My house is also burnt down," or "I've gone through." No, literally, I'll send it to you. Or people go, "Oh, I went through a traumatic thing, and your song helped me." Like your song like gave me hope that everything's gonna be okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, like obviously it's Josh singing like to me in the song. And it became, again, the more personal I think we make something, the more universal it becomes. Anything, song, movie, it's like if I make something very personal, like I write poetry, so if I write a very specific poem about something that I'm going through, more people will actually be able to relate to it. If I try to write like a general poem and like relate to everyone, no one will relate to it.
So cool.
But if I'm very specific of like, oh, like his eyes are this color, or this, if I'm very specific, it feels more real. And like God is in the details. And I think so. One of my dad's a physical therapist. So one of his patients gave him, after our house burnt down, this haiku, or maybe it was just like a short poem, but it was this haiku, and then she framed it. It was by this Japanese like author, and what the poem is barns burnt down now, I can see the stars. And it just like stayed with me, where I was like, whoa, what does that mean in my life? And I was asking the Lord, and I felt like through the process of going through like your house burning down, any process of, if you think about cooking, right, like a reduction process, if you're making a pasta sauce, right, you have a tomato, an onion, you have garlic, and then you heat it. So you put a flame under it, right, and it gets really warm, and it melts and forms into one thing, a pasta sauce. And I feel like through the process of a fire, my house fire, all these things burning away, I realized the one thing that matters is love. Because you can see different sides of God's face, like through suffering, and you get to learn of different sides of his face about him, like. And I was like, wow, I really did learn more about God. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true. It's like when you go through a really, really hard trial like that, especially with family, you just learn so much about God and different sides of him that like I didn't know. And I really learned that the core is love. Like it's all about love. And Josh's song taught me that. All these things taught me, like, why was I trying to make life about all these other things? Like all the material things are passing away, but the one thing that stays is love. And like that's the one thing that we take with us to heaven, is the people that we love, right? And it's like love, not all the physical things that burned in the fire. And so I feel like
and the reason that some of the hard stuff is hard is because they were attached to love. Like that's what you realize too. It's like the weird things that you see is like love.
Yes, right? 100%. The little, like, the photo album. Like, that stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, that's really sad. But it's so interesting, because I'm like, dang, like, that there are things that, like, I can't get back. And I'm like, oh, dang, like, I miss these things. But what's so cool is God has brought some back, like, to me in really crazy
Rita,
ways.
These boots I'm wearing, I felt like God was just, like, keep praying about this, because I prayed about it, like, 1 week. And I just kind of kept bringing it up. I was like, God, wait, I actually really want a new pair of boots.
Wow.
Like, obviously, right, you pray in the morning. I was like,
but
I'm just going to talk about this one materialistic thing that I actually do want. And
like, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I was like, and I feel like I was like, keep praying about it, and so I kept praying about it, and then this was last Wednesday, Rocco was like, he was talking to somebody about how powerful it is to pray out loud.
Wow.
And so
I was just talking about that yesterday. That's crazy.
You should just be doing this all the time.
No,
so
literally.
like I was like, hey, let's do it. And so we went on like a prayer walk, and we like prayed out loud, super powerful. And at the end, I was like, oh my God, like actually I really want a pair of boots. So like, if you can make that happen, that'd be really good. I really just want a pair of boots.
And you said it out loud.
Yes. While we were praying. Okay. Next day, Rocco first off had crazy testimonies with that, like random stuff, because he just like. Wow. We want to get engaged. Like, he wants to get engaged, and so he was like praying. I know, and he has no money, so he was like just like praying for money, and then obviously like right after, God like provided 2 houses that he's selling now. This like yeah. So it's like,
praise the Lord.
I mean, you know, he's like billionaire now. Okay.
Wait, I love.
But anyway, so
this is so exciting.
Right, so that was so exciting, and then the next day, my mom texted me a link to Nordstrom, and she was like, "You should get here's some money for boots." Just crazy.
That's so sweet, and you didn't even tell her before. You just prayed.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. And
That's
then
so the
I was
Lord.
like, okay, so then Sunday we have time to go to the grocery, go to Nordstrom.
Yeah.
And the woman's like, we just got them in today. Like, we haven't had these in years. Like, that whole vibe. And then I like paid with my mom's money for a pair of boots.
Wait, that's
It was
insane.
crazy.
And they're so cute.
But that was the same thing of like, this
Wow.
is something that God,
Wow.
like, it was like, I feel like my heart was really genuine. It's like, okay, this isn't like some crazy, like,
Yeah.
like I really actually miss my boots. They did burn down in a fire. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring this to you.
Yes, and he cares about that.
And you care about it.
Yeah.
And that
he
was
cares
the
about everything.
coolest thing. But anyway,
Yes.
so that just made me think of that.
I love
that was
that.
literally this weekend.
100%. No, and that's so beautiful because it reminds me so much of my story too. I think that there's so many parallels, but one of mine was, so I grew up like, this is so odd. I grew up like a very big fan of Captain Jack Sparrow in the pirate movies, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's so cool.
Yeah, isn't that fun? And he's so free. Like, I was like, why was I so drawn to him as a
Jack
kid?
Sparrow.
He was so free. Pirate who like goes his own way, so he never follows the way of the world. Like he always goes. Isn't that crazy?
Cool.
And I
So
didn't really
cool.
like growing up. I was just like always loved him. So I had
So
all this like
cool.
Captain Jack stuff in my
It's like
room.
the Wild West kind of feeling.
No,
Yeah,
literally,
so
it
cool.
is. It's that
Yeah.
like very like cowboy, cowboy in the sense of like
yeah.
going against the grain.
100%.
I guess like outlaw, more like outlaw vibes, which I love.
Well, yeah, because he's an outlaw in the ocean kind of
Yes,
vibe. Right?
yes,
Yeah.
I love the outlaw in the ocean. So I had like some Captain Jack. I had a bunch of Captain Jack stuff in my room, my childhood room, and I just never changed my childhood room. Like when I went to college, I just kept it how it was. So all of that burnt down, was destroyed. And then the other day on my birthday, like I was in Orange County, and my friend drove down and he like he bought all this like pirate stuff and set up my room because my room was bare. I still haven't decorated.
Yeah.
Like we rebuilt the house that like in the past 2 years we rebuilt it, and I didn't have any stuff to decorate my room with, and just like couldn't afford to like do a bunch of stuff to my room, so I just left it bare, like blank walls and like just a bed. So it was very like kind of boring in a sense. And then he came down for my birthday, and then I walked in my room and I opened the door and I literally screamed. I was like, what? And there was all this Captain Jack stuff like all around my room, and like a blanket, like all these things, like these action figures. And again, I was like, wow, like what I learned from that was God brings things back. Like the boots, he cares about the boots. He cares about my stuff in my room.
Cool.
Like, isn't that
cool?
crazy?
And like for whatever reason, it's like funny because you're like, God's not material. Like it's like so cool when you realize, it's like something about that does teach you something about like how like you don't want to love things, but there's something about like something. It's not that we love things, it's literally just the heart behind why we love something. So for me, like the boots, and for your kind of spirit, it's like a spirit behind that God does care about.
He does care,
right? And it's like, okay,
100%.
the thing
to him, provision and comfort, so like he's taking care of us. And something also
so
that
sweet.
Isn't that so sweet? I'm like, I love your story of the boots because like God cared about that for you because
so
you cared
sweet.
about it.
It's so
like
sweet.
Isn't that beautiful?
It made me feel so sweet,
so loved, right?
Yes.
And like so
like
cared.
like
flies.
No, they're like bees too.
Oh no, but it's funny because like I learned too that my name, I didn't know this for so long. Rita means pearl, so I didn't know that. And what's crazy about pearls?
Your pearls like around
isn't that
you.
crazy? And I didn't even know that. I love them, but I've had the shirt for years, like almost probably like 10 years. I don't even know how long. But what's crazy about it is like I didn't even know that my name meant pearl until recently. And I realized what's so beautiful about pearls is they're formed through like challenge. So basically in like an oyster or a clam, an irritant comes in and like, I saw that bee. An irritant comes in, like a bee, no. An irritant comes in, it doesn't always have to be a massive thing, but it's like a little irritant. And then this substance forms around it, and that forms into a pearl. So
What's
like
an irritant?
It's anything. So like if it's in an ocean, like a little parasite comes in, or like anything, or a rock. It can be a rock. It's something that's like this substance that comes in that's not supposed to be there, that's irritating the shell of like the clam, right?
Wait, that's
so it forms this substance around it, and that forms into a pearl. And I realized the Lord showed me like 2 weeks ago, like pearls are formed in hardship, and pearl means like beauty and pure, right? Beautiful.
You're
and
so beautiful.
That's
You're so pure.
You too. You are too. But it's so beautiful because I'm like, whoa. I didn't even realize, and when we go through hardships, like the fires, we have a choice to become bitter or to become beautiful.
So good.
And it's a choice. It
so
really
good.
is. The more I'm learning with the Lord, I'm like, it's a choice. And there's a famous quote that's like, beautiful people don't just happen. And it does take actual intentionality of like, I'm gonna choose I'm gonna choose beauty in this, and I'm not gonna grow bitter. And something that like one of my friends, Grant, always talks about is he's like, through like wisdom is actually the recovery of innocence on the other end of experience.
Wisdom's the recovery of innocence.
So like so like instead of, so a lot of people like in the film industry or any industry, like older people are like, oh, like real wisdom, they get rugged and they get bitter and they think that that's wisdom. I actually think wisdom is innocent.
So
like
good.
Wisdom is remaining
So
like a
good.
child, right? And it's being like, wait, because Jesus says, unless you
You're so
become
good
like
at
a
that.
child. That's so sweet. I feel like you are too, with your
No,
curiosity.
it's totally a goal of mine.
No, I love that. I feel like
it's
you
totally,
are living
but I
that.
think like, but you probably have a little bit of a goal too, right?
Yes.
It's like I'm a
Yes.
little bit like, wait, I don't want. I think that there's something about that that's it's so,
Yes.
and that's true. There's something about it that feels very, like I guess just like honest and true. It feels more. I don't know.
Yes.
It's literally just that something about that does feel wise. You're right.
Yes, it does.
Like that's exactly what you said.
Yeah, there's something wiser, because if you think of it, like if you go through something and you choose bitterness and you become kind of like curmudgeon in a way and like bitter and angry, and you're like, you know, there's a lot of people I've met that, you know, have shown me like, wait, the actual, like someone like Bob Goff, right, who's like a little bit older, and
have you met him?
No, I want to so much. I know he went to Pepperdine. Did you
I've
meet
not
him?
met him, but you should.
He teaches a lot at Pepperdine.
Yeah.
He's incredible, but he's an author, and like he inspired me so much. He wrote Love Does, right, that book. So why he inspires me is he has chosen, through all of the hardship he's gone through, he's chosen beautiful, not bitter, and he's become more childlike. Like he's the most whimsical, like childlike person, and I'm like, that's how I want to live, because Jesus says that. He says, unless you become like a child, you cannot inherit the kingdom. And I'm like, wait, so how do I every day die to myself and just like become like a child? And I've realized in the past, like was just reflecting on my birthday, and I was like, dang, my life is not about me. And the more I realize that it's about others and God, I actually have more joy. Like that's how I have childlike, like any childlikeness that is from me is not from me, it's from God, obviously. But it's choosing, I'm gonna choose to look at this as like God is my father and I'm just this kid. I don't have to figure it all out. And I think through a lot of what we're talking about is like coming to that realization of like, okay, we're kids, and like he is our provider. So like the boots, the Captain Jack, all these little things he provides for us, like jacket, like he does that in ways that are unconventional and like not like we could plan. His ways are always better. And I know that's cliche to say, but it's true. I've noticed that in the past few years. I'm like, every single time that I try to plan for something or control a situation, he has something better every time. You know, I'm like, how do we live in surrender to that?
So true.
Every day, you know.
What do you think Jack Sparrow? What do you think about him? Like, do you think God? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
What in Jack Sparrow, like, do you think God loves, or what do you think is part of that?
Oh, I love that.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that question. And it's funny that you asked that, because I only just recently looked into it, because one of my friends, which is crazy, one of my friends was talking about like a character in a movie that he's always drawn to as a kid, and I was like. And then I start asking me and the Lord, I'm like, okay, Lord, why pirates? Like, why Captain Jack? I was like, what is that with me and him? Like,
so cool, right?
Yes, and I love what you said, what does God think? So I actually think his number one thing is like, his sense of adventure and that sort of, I'm not going to go the world's way, but also he's just confident in who he is. So like, Captain Jack is so sure of who he is, and I'm like, and he's
amazing.
silly.
It's my favorite personality trait.
Yes,
I love it.
Don't you love that?
No, I think it's almost like some people do. I love when people are weirdly confident.
Yes, isn't it great?
The best. It's like, you know what? I love you now.
Yes, I know. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
You just love, because there's something about
it's just great.
Yes, it's great, and it's so free, right? And I think Captain Jack, to answer that, I think God showed me like Captain Jack is so free. He's so just like doesn't care what people think, to the point of like sometimes people see that as a flaw in him, but I actually see it as a strength. And if you rewatch the movie,
God probably loves that.
Loves that. And it's funny because I like rewatch the movies, and obviously now I like a ton of different movies. Like it's not like I always watch. Like I hadn't seen it in a while, to be honest, and I rewatched it like 2 years ago, and I remember going, wait, Captain Jack is really smart. As a kid, I didn't pick that up. I thought he was just like this like drunk pirate, but when you rewatch him, you're like, wait, no, he has everything planned. Like he actually is thinking 10 steps ahead of most people. But he's so free and so unconventional. He's doing things in the way that the world doesn't typically do. So he's going against what Will, the other character, says, or Elizabeth, because he knows the right way will actually get us here to what he wants. And
he might be wrong, but at least it's like he's doing, I don't know, it's like he might be wrong, but there's not like a fear of people in it. So
no
it's like,
fear of man. That's what it is. And I need to grow in those areas. Like that's something that I still struggle with, is fear of man. And I really want it so hard. But I want to get more like Captain Jack, where he just like doesn't care. And I'm like, that's one of my goals for this New Year's. I just don't want to care about what people think, not in a rude way, but in a way of like, even if I'm doing something and I look stupid, like it doesn't matter. And even the other day, one of my favorite things is going on swing sets. So like I always say anything can be solved by going on a swing set, because I realize like I'm a kid, right? And God's my father.
Wait, that's so good.
And it's my favorite.
It like puts you back in place.
Every time. So I'll just go on and one time I was like, this is 2 days ago, I think, 3 days ago. There was a swing set, like there's a swing and there's a bunch of water. So I was like, oh, if I sit on that, then like my pants are gonna be wet, my butt's gonna be wet, and then people are gonna see that, and like, right? So yes, and so I'm thinking, and I'm like, wait, who cares? So I sat on it and I was just swinging and I was laughing so much, like I had so much joy. And I realized, I was like, I would have missed out on that joy if I cared about what people thought. I wouldn't have sat on the swing.
So good.
And I know that sounds silly, but I'm like, wait, so much of my life, like I thought about it and I was like, I think in middle school is when we all get to the point of like, we really start to care what others think, and then we start to form into an image of ourselves that God never intended for us to be.
So true.
Right?
It literally all comes from middle school. Too.
Yes.
It's so funny.
Literally, middle school, there's something, and I'm like, dang, I want to help people see, like, one of my goals in life is to restore, like, childlikeness in people and, like, freedom in the sense of, like, becoming, like, a child again. Like, that's one of my main goals. And even the past weekend, like, I got this massive bouncy house, and we had all of our friends on it. And I was like, I want people to, like, go back to doing things like that, because when we start to get older, we start to care too much about what people think. We start to care too much about our image and what we look like or what we sound like. But in reality, like, God just sees us as little kids. I'm like, he doesn't see us as these, like, proper, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not.
And even if he did, even if you're doing this, he doesn't.
Yes, he doesn't. He sees the heart, and he says that. He looks inward. Man looks at outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. And I'm like, how can we get back to childlikeness? And I think one of them is, like, we always ask ourselves, like, oh, what's one thing you would tell your younger self? And I'm like, well, what's one thing that our younger self will tell us now?
Wow.
That's my goal. For me, it was dance more in the morning, because I used to dance getting ready.
Really?
Yes, I used to play certain songs and just, like, dance getting ready. And because I didn't care. I was just, like, happy and free. And then I look and I'm like, okay, I also want to, like, I want to laugh more. I used to write little notes to myself in my journal, like future self. I would write, like, dear future Rita.
That's so sweet,
and I was like, wait, why don't I do that anymore? Like, all these little things that I did as a kid, like, I learned so much.
It's because you do them for no, like, reason.
Yes.
And then I feel like when you get older, you start having this idea that you need to do something for a reason, right?
Yes, that's exactly, that's so good, Cap, right? That's exactly it, of like, wait, but we don't have to do, and not everything. Oh, I was actually, you would love this. I was reading this in a book last night that said beauty. So the primary thing of beauty isn't actually functional. So, like, we always look at things as, like, what's the purpose of that thing, or what's
so cool,
right? And like, we're sitting here, right? So obviously the trees with, like, oxygen, like, obviously there's a purpose in the design. But what's beautiful is, like, you look at a flower and you're like, there's not, like, a specific, sure, with bees and there's certain things, but you look at certain things in beauty and, like, that are just beautiful in life that God's given us that don't serve a specific purpose or function. The goal is just for it to be beautiful.
So
and we've lost that. You're right. As we grow, we're like, but I need to only do things that give me some sort of result. I need to see the result. But in reality, it's like, wait, let's just admire and sit and bask in the beauty that is all around us, that God's given us, and not try to have to do something with it. So I think that's true about a child. Like, a child just loves, like a yo-yo or the lollipop or whatever, and it's like, or bouncy house, but there's no for what it is. They're not like, oh, I need to go finish this thing.
If I bounce as much, I'll lose some weight or something.
Yes, you're right. We take everything then into like, okay, but how can I, like, whatever, if it's losing whatever that is, and I'm like, why? How do we get back to that childlike innocence of just admiring God's beauty around us? And even for us as women, it's like, that's such an important part of who we are, of like being beautiful, and not in a material way, but in a soul way, like a soul enchanting way of like, that is like, we bring beauty and wonder into things. And I feel like that is so important to, like, really live into, and to remember that that's like who we are. Like, that's
that
like,
you're just beautiful.
Like, we're
beautiful. We're art. We're beautiful.
Yes, and it's like, that's like, and it's not in a way. I'm not even like, obviously yes, physically, but also like, we're talking about just like the Lord in us, of like the emotional
all the
part
special things about Rita, like all the things that like,
and Capra, it's like, you are beautiful in the way that, like, you love, in the way that you speak, the way that you wonder, the way that you ask questions, like, that is beauty. And I think sometimes when we make things so
cool,
like functional, we lose it. We lose the wonder when we get so obsessed with, how do I get from point A to point B, instead of just, how do I sit here and, like, sit in awe and wonder and admire the bouncy house, admire the daisies or the dandelions. Like, how do I just sit and, like, enjoy what God has around me, you know? Like,
so cool. So cool.
Oh.
So cool. I don't know, so I'm thinking right now, because I feel like there's people in my life who have lived like that. It's like very free, and they're very childlike, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't know God. And there's something about them, because I'm literally thinking about my brother, and where it's like, I've always felt though that he really does.
Yes.
And I'm always like, wait, but you actually get it so deep. Like, you just for whatever reason have some angst. I don't know. Yeah. But like, you get it so deep, and I was just thinking about this because I couldn't even put words to it, because I was like paying attention to my brother. And
so I asked my friend, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's so interesting, the people that, you know, aren't walking with the Lord or aren't surrendered to the Lord, but they have these, like, they have all this freedom, or they have, you know, this childlike or this artistic ability, right? And my friend said, Rita, how else would they get to know God if, like, God didn't bless them with these skills and activity or abilities or passions? And I was like, whoa, because God, we see God through creating, right? Through beauty, through art. So even if your brother or our friends that I'm talking about that, like, don't know the Lord, even if they're not aware that that's God,
it's literally him working through them.
Yes,
so
right?
Cool.
He knows. But I feel like most artists know that when they get breakthrough on a project, they know that it's not them that is doing it, right? Like, even filmmakers are like, oh, I tapped into something here.
I'm not sure what it was.
That wasn't me. Yes, and even we just watched the Springsteen movie, and there's a part where he was recording.
Is it good?
It's good. I liked it. It's funny because there's a moment where he's recording Born in the USA, and like Springsteen, and obviously it's an actor, like they're just replicating what happened in real life, but it was realistic to what happened in Springsteen's life. And there was a moment that they were in the studio and it was just like electric. Everyone was like on fire. The song was incredible. And afterwards, Springsteen and his manager were talking, and his manager goes, Bruce, like, you tapped into something there. Like, I don't know what that was, but that wasn't you. And he was like, I know. And he was almost got afraid of it. But it was, I believe that that's the Lord, the Holy Spirit, that like as we create as artists, God creates through us, and like we can encounter the Lord without even realizing it. So I think people that we're talking about that maybe aren't, you know, I do think that there are people that are just like confident in who they are and they're free. And I don't think that that's coming from a wrong place if they don't know God. I think that is real of like, okay, right? And even actors, the best actors, what I always talk about with so many of my friends is like, are free, right? They're just free, and they're able to like, you know, I think part of freedom is self-forgetfulness, which sounds weird, but I do think that of not making everything about you. Like, I think people that are the most free, like Bob Goff, right? People that I look up to, that Jesus, right? The most free man ever. He was so centered on others and on other people.
So cool,
right?
Rita.
And so I think like
goes back to your like intention. Yeah.
Yes, of
so
like,
cool.
okay, let's make it. So I think like even though people that I've met that are more free and just have more peace or more joy and yet aren't walking with the Lord, I do think they have realized or tapped into at least like generosity in the sense of just giving their time to people or love to people. Like that has to mean something, and they have to see that, like, because when we're so inward focused, like when we're bent inwards on ourselves and we're looking at ourselves so much, there's a lack of joy.
Do you think
right?
that's just why artists are like that? Because art's not for you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. It's like you're kind of, what you just said. It's like you're deeply personal for.
Yes.
So that it's like a wide thing.
Yep. Universal, right?
And maybe that kind of process is just a lot of what you're saying there. It's like being deeply personal with God for like a bigger. I don't know. It's not just. I don't know.
No, I love that 100%. I agree. It's like it's for a wider, right, a bigger purpose, and I think part of that is
they know that you. And in order to be a really good artist, you have to have like some sort of like you're gauging on all that stuff, which isn't just about you then.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And you have to have. You're right. That's a great way to describe it, of like having a gauge. And I think part of it too is like it is so personal. So if you think of like Past Lives, have you seen that film?
No, should I?
It's you should watch. It's so good.
Isn't it?
It's so good.
It's like it's Japanese. Or
yeah,
what
it's Korean. So it's like a Korean. This woman who basically she like moves to America, and she's like, she kind of gets reconnected with like a past like ex of hers, and it's so beautiful because it really. I listened to a podcast on it, and the director basically said she like talks about how personal that film was to her. Like it came from a very personal place, and she made it very detailed to like her specific experience.
So cool.
Like you watch that and you feel her fingerprint on it, right? But it did so well, and it's done, and it continually moves me when I watch it.
Wow.
But yeah, it's so personal to her. But again, it's that idea of she was tapping into, yes, I'm making this like because it's very personal and it's something that I can, but it's also for other people, to help other people not feel alone in what they're dealing with, right? Because it's like reconnecting, connects, or whatever that is. And I'm like, wow, how do I, like, as an artist, and what you're saying, like, I want to make really personal art, really, really real stories that I've gone through, so that other people can watch it and relate and be like, oh, I'm not the only one that went through that loss, or, you know, the fire. Like, one day I want to make a film about that, going through that.
That'd be so cool.
You know, and to see, again, Josh's song was so personal, and all these people around the world related to it, that came up to me and, like, thanked me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they would ask me, like, do you have any wisdom of like what you went through? Like, can you teach me? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, what? But again,
but you do have wisdom, so it's a cool thing.
That's so sweet. But I would have
right?
never
Because
thought.
it's like you like somebody's asking you on something that's personal, so you actually did have wisdom.
Oh,
you're like,
wow. Because it's a personal. And that's interesting. I like that you said that because wisdom does come from It comes from the Lord, but it comes through experiences. Like God gives us that wisdom through living through that experience, right? And I'm like, because I would have never thought when the house burnt down, I would have never thought in a million years that somehow God would make a song. Because God made it through Josh, right?
Cool.
Make a song that would help people around the world, that would heal me and my family. Like it brought us together and allowed us to be vulnerable with each other. Because he sings about each family member in the song, and like my grandpa listened to it.
So beautiful.
Isn't that so crazy? And it's like my grandparents listened to it, and it brought all of us like to tears. And there's a lyric that says, so he talks about my dog Brinkley. He says Brinkley smiles amidst the fire. He's just glad to see your eyes. And then there's a lyric that says like, I know it's scary, I know it's sad. So hug your mom or hug your dad, kiss your mom and hug your dad. And then he goes, because love is all that matters anyway.
So
and I was like, wow, like that's it, right? It's
that's
like
so good.
In the end, it's like all that matters is that love. And so I think as artists, we can't be inwardly focused. And I think people think that they should be inwardly like, oh, I'm making this for myself. But the best art is personal but made for others. Does that make sense? I think there's a balance there of like, let me make this deeply personal. Because the more real it is and authentic it is, the better it will be.
Yeah, so cool.
Like the best films that I feel that my brother and I have made are ones that are personal and real. When we're driving and trying to direct, we're driving this from a place that's not authentic. When we're trying to like relate to something that we don't relate
actually
to,
understand.
The end product isn't as good. And we've seen that in our films. So we're like, this doesn't feel as real. And then when we make something deeply personal, we're like, oh my gosh, this feels real. Like it's not even like a sense of, oh my gosh, like we're these filmmakers. No, it's not even about us. It's like, wow, God has moved through authenticity and you feel that on camera. Like authenticity is a real thing that I think you can feel in someone. Like you're very authentic, and right when I met you, I was like, oh my gosh, so much authenticity. You are. And it's funny because a lot of people I think want to be, right? Like there's some people that want to be more themselves and authentic. Yeah, like fully, because I think fully authentic means fully free, means fully themselves.
Wow.
Right? And so I think a lot of people are afraid.
I've never even thought of that.
Yeah. So I think I love you. But I think people are afraid to. And I used to be like that, where I was afraid to be fully myself. And I think I'm still growing. There's so much I still have to learn. But I think the more I step into childlikeness and going back to like, how did God originally create me to be? And it's like, okay, he's given me this word joy. So I'm like, how do I live into that and actually like live from that place and not live from a place of trying to be like other people? Because you can even look at other Christians and you're like, oh, I want to be more like Bob. But it's like, but Bob's meant to be Bob and we're meant to be us. Like we're meant to be. So it's like just stepping more into who God's created you to be and not needing to be like, oh, I need to be, and again.
And then that's where freedom is too, right?
Yes,
yeah, so
fully you, right?
So
and fully like, but it's just
and then that's the same point of like, if you're walking in who you really are, you're gonna change the most lives. Like like with the art thing.
Yes.
It's like this, if you being authentically you, then it's gonna do the most.
Yes.
So cool.
100%. Do you feel like with your art too, you've noticed that of like photos? Because I know you do photos too, right?
Well, but I don't know. Because I've never done like a crazy amount of art, right? Yeah. But it's funny because I did film, right? And then I would make movies off of like literally the things that just happened to me, and they didn't do that great. Like I think my teacher was like, "Pepper, what the freak?" I like lost my keys in like I was in the ocean. I used to run on Ralph's and I had a truck. Wow. And I put my keys in my pocket while I was running. Oh no. And then I like had this urge, like this really beautiful urge, like to jump into the ocean. So I was like, I gotta do it. So I jumped into the ocean, and my key fell out of my pocket, and it's in the ocean. But I didn't recognize that. I was like swimming in there, Rita. Like having such a fun time.
I
like
love
the childlike thing.
Yes, I love that you did that.
I was so happy. No, God made me. I really think it was meant to be. Because then I come out of the ocean, I was like, literally walk like in the best mood ever. Walk out, I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, 100%, yeah. I was like, yeah, 100% that, like, that happened. Like, I was in there way too long for that not to happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God.
I lost
like,
my
1,000%. There wasn't a zipper. Like, and like, so anyway, so then I, like, lost my key, and I was, like, this thing where I was like, oh my gosh, I lost my key. I didn't have a car for, like, and so I couldn't drive. There was this crazy storms in Malibu, so much storms. Whoa. Yeah, like, the day of and the day after. And for, like a week, it was, like, these crazy storms in Malibu. The storms ended, and then I go to my car just because I wanted to, like, because I'd been leaving it at a parking lot, just like, I don't know, and like, just like was like, would go by it, and I like went by it, and I was like, I wonder, like, and I got into my, No, I called AAA because I was like, maybe they can help me. Okay, they come, they unlock the car, but they can't do anything about you not having a key.
Yeah.
But I sat in my car, and then I opened the glove box, and in this like red envelope, I opened it up, and there was a key in the red envelope.
I have full chills.
And like,
what?
I was like, and the guy's like, what are you, like, the guy was like, like, what the freak? And like, so I'm like, thank you, and then, I like started my car, and then I could drive, and it was like this thing where it was like, I called my mom, nobody knows, my brother was like, yeah, I made that, and I put that in there a while ago, my older brother.
Wow.
I didn't know about that.
But he did that.
He did that, my older brother. And
that's insane.
And so, but it was like also weird because I don't remember ever seeing this envelope, so I don't know what that is, but that's fine. And but I made a little short film about that, but nobody cared.
No, but that's so beautiful.
But it was the same kind of thing because I remember they were asking me, and I was like, well, that just happened to me. And then this guy was like, what?
Wow.
But it was just really, to me, it really felt like God's protection. Like, I literally feel like he was like, go have fun in the ocean. You're going to be kind of annoyed for a week because you're going to think that you lost your key. But I don't think you should be driving your truck in that storm. Like, that's literally what I felt about it.
Wait, that's so cool.
Right?
That was protection.
I felt like it was.
Yes, 100%.
And then I got back in my car, and I'm like, all right, like, I got a key.
And then you could drive.
I have a car. There's sunny weather now.
Wow.
Yes.
Wait, that's such a beautiful testimony.
That was so cool. But that was that's when you're saying, like,
wow, with art.
That I remember, like, being like, I just thought it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it was just like a little thing, like, wow, you really just like detoured me.
Yes.
And because you protected me.
Yeah.
Because you care about me, and like you helped me have a really beautiful time in the ocean.
Yes.
And you're like watching me. So funny to think about that, being like, oh, she's having so much fun. She's gonna have a hard. She's gonna get out there.
Like right.
Like she's like,
it's gonna be hard.
She doesn't remember.
But like you almost like in a way God was like he was growing you through that and like
so
showing
true,
you
that it's like 100%,
and even just patience of waiting.
Like being
that
like,
week.
Capra, do you not trust that like that feeling to go into that ocean was like real or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so real. And that was so childlike for you to be like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go in. Like again, it's getting to that place of I don't care what other people think. I'm gonna do these things. And I think it's so beautiful that your brother put that key a while ago, because that's almost like that really does feel. I do feel that it is God watching out for you. Like think of that. God knew that you would need that at that time, so He set it up in advance.
Like
to
probably
make sure.
a year later, or a year before, or something.
Which is so
cool.
beautiful. I'm like,
so
that's
cool.
God. Just again, the same with your the cowgirl boots. Same thing. It's like He knows what you want and cares about those little things.
Yeah,
and
so good.
And He provides, right? Even through your car. And I think it's so beautiful because it's like, even when you said you made a film and people didn't care, I think it's like we need to also just keep creating, even from a place of like,
you're so cool.
Right? You're so cool. But even come from a place of like, I don't care. Not in a rude way, not in an arrogant way. But I don't care what people think of this project. I'm going to make it for the Lord, right? It's not I'm making it for myself. It's I'm making it for the Lord. And we've had, my brother and I have so many different reactions to our films. Like one film that we made a long time ago in high school, we like re-released it online. It's like a thriller horror, like a long time ago. We released it online.
So sweet that you work with your brother.
Isn't that so sweet? He's literally like my best friend too. But it's cool because we released this film and we got like crazy reactions. Like it got like a lot of views in a really quick amount of time because it was so polarizing. People either loved it or they hated it. Wow. And my brother was like, whoa, but it created a reaction, right? Even the people that hated it would comment and they're like, I don't understand, but it created like conversation. So cool. And I was like, that's crazy. But again, we didn't post it to get other people's views. We were literally like, well, we made this, we might as well just like put it out there. And then our other film that we care, that's more of our style that we recently made. It's like a drama about two friends who like each other. It's a short film. That one, we released it online. And again, we weren't like, oh, we care about what people think. We literally released it for people to watch and not feel alone. And there was a guy that commented and he said, I'm about to go to my high school 50th high school graduation anniversary, right? So the 50th anniversary of like the reunion when you go. And he goes, I'm about to go to that. And I watched this film and I instantly was brought back to high school and having those feelings for someone. And he's like, it made me feel like a kid again. And that I wasn't alone in what I felt then. Like it brought some sort of nostalgic. And I was like, whoa. And I said to Luke, I was like, Luke, if we made that film to Senda, right? All these people have seen it. Like it has all these views, whatever. But if it was simply just for that one guy to feel less alone, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like not caring about like, oh, but, and I didn't need him to comment that, but the fact that he did, I was like, whoa, Lord, like, you take my art and you bring it to the people that need to see it.
So good.
Because not everything I will make will be for every person.
100%. And something could be like really widespread and not affect as many people.
Yes.
Or it could just have a really intense effect on one person. Like God knows what really is like the effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so good.
And even your film that you made, like even if your teacher was like, oh, what if someone in your class saw that and needed to see it?
Or maybe
it
was for me.
For you,
Let's
yeah.
go through this again.
Yes, because do you feel like, for me, I feel like when I make a film with the Lord or write a poem with the Lord, it like heals me. Do you feel that? Like even when you were making that film, was that
like
process?
The story thing, right? Because stories are like, well, it's right, because it's like our whole life stories, and then God like helps us like understand things, I feel like, right? Through stories.
Oh, 100%. I love that.
And then your life is a story, so it like helps you recognize. Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
the stories. The stories part is crazy.
Yes,
right?
the story. And Lambert, like our outreach pastor at our church, like Lambert said to me, Rita, the storytellers are the ones who change the world. And I was like, what? When he goes, think about you too, and you too. But think about it with the Bible. It's like,
oh my gosh,
they were they lived with Jesus, and then they wrote what happened. They told the story, right? If you look at the disciples, it's like, okay, look at the New Testament. And in the Old Testament, oh my gosh, the Old Testament is beautiful. It's all these stories. It's the stories that we are now living from. Like, we look at the Bible, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, these stories have changed my life. Wow. So like stories are what, and there's a verse in Psalm that said, may this be written for a future generation who is not yet born yet, that they may praise the Lord. And I was like, that's, and Lambert was like, yes, obviously that's the Bible, but that's also our stories that we're gonna write, or we're gonna shoot like one day, we're gonna make, we're gonna sing songs, we're gonna act, whatever that is. It's like those stories that we will tell will outlive us. And that's the power of storytelling. And I'm like, that's how the Lord has taught me so much. And that's why I'm like, I have to make a film about the fire. Like my brother and I, like, no, we have to, because we've lived this and we've learned from this. That's
where you can like actually genuinely, authentically,
and that's the testimony, right? Because it's like, if you think of Jesus, he taught in parables, right? He told stories, and stories, we are wired for stories to stay with us. Like, I will always remember that story of you in the car, right? Or you with the boots. Like, when you tell me a story, that sticks with me more than like just telling me all these facts about God, right? Of like, oh, God is faithful. And I know that God is faithful. But until I live a story like that with the car, then I go, oh, God is faithful because he's shown up for me. Or even like learning that my name means pearl. It's like, okay,
like, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. But even if I hadn't gone through, because even recently I've gone through some harder things where I'm like, dang, like this has just been more challenging. And I'm like, but it's funny because the truth suddenly becomes very tangible when you live through it. So like there's certain worship songs that I'll listen to all the time, and then one week I'll go through something, listen to that song that I've heard a million times, but the lyrics will hit, and I'm like, when it says, oh, no matter what I walk through, I never walk alone because God, you're always with me. I'm like, whoa, when I go through something, that actually becomes really real. It doesn't just go from here. It moves from my head to my heart, and I want more knowledge to come. I want more knowledge to move into my heart.
And so it's like you carry that with when you go through hard things, like knowing that it's like moving things from
from your head to your heart, right? Because we want to live from a place of not just like knowing but believing it fully. And I think part of that is like, how do I live with these, like, I feel like what because there's a difference, right, with wisdom and knowledge, and I was listening to podcasts on that, and like there's a big difference there. And I think like I want to have, like, I asked the Lord, I'm like, Lord, would you give me more wisdom, right? And a lot of that is through just experiencing life. Like, he's like, okay, well, we're gonna go through this experience, and that's where I get the wisdom. And it's not just the knowledge of all these facts, because knowledge is so good, but it's like wisdom is the application of the knowledge, right? And the timing of when you say it, when you use it. And like that is really about experiences. So as artists, I'm like, okay, like I want to get back to that place with the Lord where I'm creating from a place of like, I've lived these experiences.
So cool.
And I don't have to, because I can use my imagination, right? I don't have to live through a very like exact thing, right? Same as actors don't have to have gone through the exact thing that their character has gone through. But if there's a part of it that is authentic, that they can relate to, that's where the magic is. I think that's where the beauty is. And that's where when we create, it's coming from this place of purity of, it's the same thing with my name with Pearl. It's like, if I would have known that and I like never went through a hard thing, I would have been like, oh, cool, my name means Pearl, whatever. But because I've gone through hardship, I'm like, oh, pearls are created through challenges. Like they're actually a beautiful thing that's formed from an irritant, from something that is a challenge. Like that's what it's formed. I'm like, oh, then I see more of my identity. I'm like, I'm actually supposed to talk about challenges and supposed to talk about when I am sad, not just when I'm joyful. I'm like, wait, all of that is beautiful. That's a part of my testimony too, not just the joy, but also the hardship. Does that make sense? Kind of like,
yeah, 100%. Yeah. It all creates like the shine of the pearl. Like it's all not like the pearl isn't dark because it talks about like 100%.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wait, so Rita, did you grow up Christian?
Yeah, so I did. So I grew up going to church, but in the back of the church service, I always would just read. So I wouldn't listen.
This is also such a cute. This top with like the thought of church is like so cute because it feels like it's like
old fashioned kind of
old fashioned, like but like new. It's so cool.
Wait, that's so sweet.
You know what I mean?
I love that. It's funny because I got a prophetic word when I went to New York recently, and And the guy said that. He goes, your name, Rita, is like old-fashioned, but you're bringing something new. He's like, you're not trying to like...
Which is pearls.
Yes,
because
literally
pearls are like old-fashioned, but they're
Yes.
never not
Yes.
like beautiful and new.
Yes,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
pearl, like people
Yes.
wearing, it's like, you think of like, oh, is it like a grandma? But it's like, well, and he said to me, he goes, the gospel, you're not trying to redo, like you're just taking what's already been God's truth, and like you're bringing like fresh authenticity to it. And he was like,
cool.
and he literally said that's when he wrote my name. He was this guy who would write people's names on a card, and then he like would pray and ask God. And he said he was like he was like, Rita, I feel like you're drawn to like vintage things, old-fashioned things, like these things in movies. Like that's why I love old movies, old songs. I love old music and movies because there's something that it's like, wow, there's so much purity there. And that's like with Pearl, right? And so I like going to church, I would read all the time in the back of the church service. Like I was obsessed with stories as a kid. Speaking of stories, I just read books all the time. I would read like 5 books a week. And we would go to restaurants, my family and I, and I would literally bring a book under the table. And then when I would go to bed, I would read in the bathtub with a flashlight. Because my parents didn't know I was still awake. Like I would stay up like all night and just read books. Like I was obsessed with stories. And I didn't know at the time the Lord fully, but I knew that something was speaking to me through stories. Like there was something that I was so drawn to and escaping and going into. Oh my gosh, I have so many.
When you were little.
When I was really little. Oh, I had so many. This is crazy, but I read a lot of like dog stories too. Like A Dog's Purpose. I read a lot of adventure books like Maximum Ride. I didn't read Harry Potter, which is interesting. Everyone thought that I did, but I didn't. I read like I'm Number 4. I would read almost like every book, like 13 Reasons Why. Like I read almost every popular like book. And I was also reading a lot of, again, James Patterson stuff, which he's like an author who writes like more stuff for like older kids. But I was reading like just crazy stuff all the time, stories after stories. And I read a lot of thrillers. I read a lot of dramas. I read a lot of mysteries, like a lot of different genres that would allow me to like go into this other world. And I was like, okay. So I watched a lot of movies growing up too. So I was always in like movies and books, right? And then I was reading always in the back of church service. My parents would bring me to like the adult service. And then one day my friend was like, hey, it was in 8th grade and it was March. And my friend was like, hey, why don't you come to the actual like youth service? Because I never had gone to like a youth service. I was always just going to church growing up in the back reading books. And she was like, oh, there's this cute guy there, which is so funny. This cute guy. I don't even remember who he was. I didn't even talk to him that night. But it was March.
He was not in the cool.
Yeah, I'm like he was, but she was like wanting me to meet him.
He was the bait. That's
yes, she literally was like, oh my gosh, you have to meet this guy. And I was like, okay. So I go and I don't even meet him. It was on March 23rd. I remember the day, March 23rd, and we took communion. I didn't even know what it meant. And I was at the service. I don't even remember what they talked about. But the next morning, March 24th, I woke up with a new heart. And I literally, to this day, it's been like 11 years, and I can't fully explain it. To this day, like, I woke up that day, March 24th, with like a different heart. And I went on Instagram at the time, and I was like in 8th grade. And I read this, there was this quote that said, a post that said, want to learn more about like Christianity, download this podcast. And so I did. And I gave my life to Christ that morning, like after listening to the podcast, like a sermon. And the pastor at the end like led everyone into like a prayer, and I gave my life to Christ. And then every single year on that day, like March 24th, God would show up and like give me a miracle. Like I got into USC like on that date 4 years after that. Like it was always on that date that God would like wink at me just to show me like I'm real and like I'm here. Isn't that crazy? So every year, and I think what's really beautiful is I look back and I'm like, wow, when I first found the Lord, I actually didn't have Christian community at all. Like it was just me and the Lord in my room, and I would listen to music on my headphones, worship music, and I would just be in my room like watching these like Christian conferences or church services of people worshiping, and it would just be me alone with the Lord. And I look back at that because I used to think that was like sad. I was like, oh, I didn't have any Christian friends. But I'm like, actually, that was some of my favorite times because it was those years that I was like formed into, like God was just speaking to me and whispering to me. And then once I got to college, I met some of my best friends who are still really close to me today. And that's when I first got a taste of what Christian community is actually like and how important it is to have community. Because I'm not saying that those years, like, oh, community's bad.
How
no.
many years was that?
That was about on my own, like probably like the 4 years of high school, just being, and I had some friends in high school, of course, that I loved that were Christian, but mainly it was just me and the Lord. So like I didn't really talk about it to a lot of people. Like I was like, and people came up to me and they're like, where do you get your joy from? And I said, well, I was like, Jesus, I think, because when I first gave my life to Christ that day, March 24th, from that day to today, never missed a day, I've prayed the same prayer. Lord, I pray that I would experience your joy, and that when others would see me, they would see you in your joy. I've prayed that every day.
Read it.
For the past 11.
And it's true.
You're so sweet. But it's the Lord, and that's what's cool.
100%.
People have come to me,
but
right?
It's like true. He's so that's
so isn't that
cool.
cool how faithful he is of persistent prayer?
So
Because it's crazy because I'm like,
you're so joyful.
but people will compliment. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so joyful," and I'm like, "Wait, but that's not even me." And that's not me being. That's not false humility. It's me being like, "Wait, what you're seeing is actually the Lord's joy." So like, it's not even Rita joy. It's the Lord's joy through me.
I love you.
Isn't that crazy?
So
I
cool.
love you. But I prayed that every single day, and then college came. It was really hard, but I had Christian community. Went through a lot of different things. Grew. God was shaping me, and then after college, I just fell really, really more in love with Jesus. And I was like, I have to like leave film. I have to do ministry. And again, it was like, at the time it was film or ministry. And I was like, I have to do ministry. Like God is, but I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. And so I was going back and forth. And then I just like got a full-time film job, but it didn't feel right. And I kept working in film, but I felt like the Lord was leading me to ministry. And I was like, I feel like I should, but I didn't know. And then I end up, basically the company I was working for like let everybody go, and like they just lost a lot of funds, so they're like, hey. And then I was like, okay, Lord, like, and he put that verse in my heart, whoever tries to save his life will lose it, whoever loses his life for my kingdom will find it. And I realized like, oh my gosh, like I have to just like for a season at least try this. So I like leave film for a little bit and I go into ministry and I start working at a church and interning. And then that's when I like I had this crazy testimony of how I met like one of my best friends, Josh, at that church. When I was interning, and then I ended up leaving the internship, going on tour with him, and then God uses that to like bring back film of like the power of art, and then we start.
So it's like he asks you to go and just like lose your life, and so cool. And so then you go do this, and then from that it's like that's so cool.
Yes, and from that I find it, right? And I think I shared that women's night, but it was really beautiful because I'm like, wow, if I tried to just do it all on my own, right? Tried to do full-time film and 9 to 5 or 9 to 8, whatever the film hours, and I just worked like corporately for film or whatever that looked like, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like now where the Lord has me is life, right? I have found life through choosing his way. So what I mean by that is like I did this internship, right? And then I left the internship, went on tour, came back, we start Sammy Sundays, that homeless outreach. Then I go back into film, and I realized that film is always what I've loved, but God had to take me out of it for a season to show me like this is the way I want you to do it. It's not the way of the world. It's not the way that a lot of people teach you. Like when you graduate film school, you have to get a 9 to 5, you have to intern, you have to do that, you have to build your way up the ladder. It's like that's the world's way, but God's showing me it's actually no, it's not that. It's through unconventional ways. Going back to that idea of like I just need to listen to what God has over my life, my plans, right? His plans for
like
my
your
life.
4 years.
Yes, is different, right? No, literally, and I'm like, it looks different than some of my friends. And again,
no, your 4 years with God. It's like the same. It's like your 4 years. It's like
you're right of just being formed. You're right. I love that, and I think like at the end of the day too, I look back at my life and I'm like, dang, like I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be creating films. I think, but I think the real character arc in this story, right in mine, is like in college it was film or ministry. After college, it was film and ministry. So I started doing Sammy's and film. And then recently just realized I gotta give film my all, because the arc was, it became film is your ministry.
Wow.
And I just realized through a friend that like sat me down.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
Literally, and my friend sat me down and told me all. He was like, Rita, like the way that like you light up with film is different than like with all this ministry. Again, I love what I do with Sammy Sundays. I love the outreach. I love nonprofits. I love working at church. All of that is amazing. But I encounter God the most through films, through watching a film, through making a film, through talking about movies with people. Like that is the way that I see the world is cinematically. Like I see this as a scene. Obviously we're recording, but like I see things as scenes. Like when I'm with people, I'm like, oh, I think about how I would shoot it, and I'm like, my brain is wired.
Like
for
when you're
cinema.
seeing a beautiful moment, you're thinking about, wait, how can I like?
Yeah,
oh,
and
so cool.
yes, and it's not like not living in the moment of like, oh, I'm taking out my phone.
Because you're really analyzing it.
Yes, it's like this cheesy tattoo, live the moment. And it's
it's more because you're really sitting with it.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, really sitting with it and being like, wow, like
this is art, like that kind of thing.
Like exactly, that's exactly. And so I'm like, how do I do that? And I think right now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dive into film. But I wouldn't have got here, I think, with this perspective if I hadn't given up film for a time. Does that make sense? Like you almost have to lay down your life in order to find it and find the things that he has for you. And
that's so cool.
Right? And even my pastor where I interned, like I remember one of the days when I came back from tour, he asked me how I was and I said, "Oh, great, Luke and I are filming again," right? And he goes, "Rita, I'm so glad that you're doing what you love again." Like he just knew that like this is what you love. This is what you're made to do, is make films. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, and Fraser and so many of our friends at church too have like, so many of our friends have helped me see that too, and like I view it now.
Because then the next morning you go and you listen to like what was it? You said
a sermon, like a podcast online,
and you accept Jesus, but and you felt the joy and everything beforehand, which is super cool.
Isn't that interesting?
Like, I don't know, it's so cool.
I know, you're right. No one ever brought that up of like I took communion.
I love that because it's like,
no, I love that, and I remember I like, and the funny thing is in the moment. So the day before, right, the night before, March 23rd. When I went to the youth service, I remember I don't even remember what the pastor was saying, but I remember it was like about Easter because it was around Easter. That's why Easter is my favorite holiday. But I remember that, and then I remember eating the communion, not knowing what it meant. It's like, okay, here's the blood, here's the body, and I didn't know what all that meant. And I didn't feel really anything that night. So I went home just feeling kind of like, I was like, well, I didn't even
meet the guy.
Yeah, I did. It was like I didn't meet the guy. I didn't meet the friends that I was supposed to meet. Like I didn't do any of that. So I went home like with my family, and I remember we watched like the Kids' Choice Awards or something. It was so long ago. And I'm like sitting there like thinking nothing of it. And then I woke up the next morning. Like God was doing the work in my heart overnight. And I wasn't even praying. Like think about how crazy it is.
So
it wasn't
cool.
Isn't that crazy? Until the next morning I woke up and I had this joy. I had it. It literally felt like there was a different heart in me. And I was like, whoa. And I felt it in my bones. Like
And you thought that when you were little, like you were like, this is a different heart. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, because I was literally, again, 8th grade. So I didn't have words, but I was like, whoa, it feels like I have like a different heart. And the first post that I saw, because I went on Instagram at the time, and again, the first post I saw was, want to learn more about Christianity, download the, and of course.
Were you like already looking at stuff online that was Christian?
No, that's what's weird, is not really. Like
you weren't getting prompted these things as much.
No, that's what's so weird, is I was like, wait. But because again, I grew up in this space, so I knew who God was, but I wasn't yet talking to him. But I knew that he was like probably speaking to me through the stories that I was reading. But I knew there was something greater than me. That's cool.
So you knew that.
Yes.
You always felt like God, and you were like stories, and you were like connected. That's
yes,
so cool.
Like I always felt that like my soul was always like clinging to Jesus, but I didn't have language for. I didn't know until that morning I woke up and I was like, wait, I'm like different. And then I listened to the sermon and I'm like, Lord, I want you to be like the Lord over my life. Like I gave my life, like I committed my life that day. And then from that day on, it was just like joy and peace and the most freedom I've ever experienced. And I'm like, and I really like, again, it was in isolation though, which it was never alone. It was me and the Lord, but it was in alone time with God, of like being formed and like really having secrets with God and keeping that friendship in just me and the Lord. And sometimes I miss it, where I'm look back and I'm like, dang, like I love,
so sacred,
yeah, and I love community, and we need community. We need community to grow and to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron, right? But there are moments where I look and I'm like, dang, I would spend hours alone with God, just sitting. And obviously I do that now, but now I look and I'm like, wow, as we get older, more responsibilities come, right? We have to start providing for ourselves. We have to start providing. And then one day if you meet somebody, it's like, okay, you get married. There's more responsibilities. One day you have kids. More responsibilities.
You don't get your like hours.
Yes, right. And we can still make that time, right? And we should.
You have to make it.
Yes, you have to make it, and it becomes a little bit harder. So I've noticed that as I've gotten older, like went to college, then after college, job stuff, and now like, again, also like friends is responsible. Obviously, like with your situation, it's like dating is also responsible, but friendships also responsibilities, and then there's family responsibilities. And when we went through the house fire, and then balancing that with job stuff, and then Luke and I, my brother and I, making films, like all these added responsibilities. I'm like, dang, but I still have to remember that alone time with God, nothing can replace that, like that intimacy with God. No church time, like nothing can take that. Like I just need to be more alone with God, like all the time. And I'm like, I crave that. My soul craves to be alone with him, because I think like, it's the same thing with the bride, right, and the bridegroom. It's like wanting that alone time. There's nothing like it. And it's like having time to just talk to God, me and the Lord. And it's like to have secrets with me and the Lord and not have to share everything that he tells me. And like, there's something so beautiful about that, I think, of like that intimacy that you build with Jesus, that I do feel like I can learn from my younger self, of just like, I would go to my room and just spend hours like journaling or reading the Bible. Like the word became like a part of me because I would read it all the time and I was hungry for it. And it was stories. Again, it's like I grew up reading, and it wasn't until that time that God connected, like, hey, read this. And it was the Bible. And I'm like, this is the best story of all. And it's so poetic and romantic. Like the whole Old Testament is this romantic
Do you love
telling.
the Old Testament?
Oh, I love
That's so
because
cool.
why I love it is it's very mysterious, and there's a lot that like isn't directly stated, right? And it's these stories of people wandering in the wilderness and the desert trying to find God, and God's dropping bread, and like it's so mysterious and romantic to me. I'm like, it really feels that sometimes when I get in my head too much and like get too theology heavy, I forget that God like is so much in my heart too, that it is like it's an adventure with God. It's whimsical. It's a love story.
So cool,
He pursues us every day, right? It's like he pursues us through strangers, through those dogs that we saw. Like that brought me joy. I'm like, that's like God pursuing me. Like he pursues me through these little things that bring me joy and like remind me of him in nature and in, you know, in friends like this. Like this is so beautiful how God shows up and like teaches us about himself through us sharing stories. You know?
So cool, yeah.
Isn't that
so cool?
It's so
it's
interesting.
Filming, right? Is it?
Oh yeah, I think it. But do you feel that like with going back to your art, because I'm curious, do you want to do that like as like do you want to do things like this? Like do you want to do this for like the rest of your life, or are you in a season?
I have no idea what I really want to do.
And that's okay.
But I think it definitely like I've learned in the past like year or something that it's definitely like, I feel like I went to like high school at this random school, and then I went to high school at like a very like prep school.
Okay.
And then no, I went to middle school. My bad.
Oh. Okay.
And then high school, I got the chance to go to like this very like urban like it was like a very like art centered school in downtown Tucson, like very like artistic. Wow. And like so I went there and then I like did film and photo there, and that was the coolest thing because it was like a very lawless school. It was like not like very, but it was magnet, so it had like you know like some stuff like whatever, but and it was I don't know. Yeah. So it was a really cool experience, but it also like was interesting because I think it almost made me think I wasn't an artist because so many of the kids that went there were very artistic. Wow. Right?
So
it was
like
oh cool. And like a little bit like, all right, well like that might be somebody like I don't really see that for me kind of thing. And but it was also super fun to go to school there, and I had so much fun doing these things. Like you know, it wasn't like I was like, this is boring. I was like, oh, but some people are just so talented. You know? And then I almost feel like it was interesting. I was taking a lot of photos in high school, and I had this feeling that it was like I was very observational of things. Whoa. Like what you were saying before was like I would look at things all the time and be very observational. Yes. And I felt like I was like outside of it a lot.
Like outside of, okay.
And it was like, I mean, to an extent it was because I went to like this high school that was really crazy and people were doing lots of drugs and there was like a lot of stuff. So like there was like that was protection to it. But I always felt like I was like a step out of things. And I remember, and I remember like being very bored of it or something. I don't even know what the deal was. And I wanted to go to Pepperdine because I felt like it was such a different culture than what I've been at. Yeah. And I just felt like that would be interesting. And when I went there, I almost feel like I remember making this feeling of like, oh, I wanted to just be in it. And so I kind of stopped the art stuff. It was like really, it was like but it wasn't, it was like a feeling of like, I want to be in it. Like I want to be in the story. Wow. Like I felt like I had been watching it. Wow. And like then I like of course went to college, and then that just means you're just like involved and you have drama and like whatever. And like it was great. There's like a random stories like whatever. Wow. But it was a lot of that, and then I think like stepping out, and then I kind of think like I kind of feel like the first year at school, and I was saying this before, I think it was like I was living such a false identity that year. Yeah. Then I go to Germany, and I think that was like stripped back. But then it was like coming back and being like, wait, but then who am I? Because I'm like not the same person that was in high school. Yes. Who was like on the sidelines of things. Wow. But I'm not the same, like whatever. Yeah. And I think like, I don't know, I think now I'm recognizing that I don't know what I really want to do, but it's not, I think it has to do a little bit more with art than it does not. Yeah. But I don't know what that means. Yeah. And I don't know really what area, because it's not like I have like a specific, but I do think I've recognized like, okay, wait, like, but the way that I think I appreciate things is a little bit more that direction, but I don't know exactly where or what. Yeah. So that's how I feel now. Yeah. But it was like interesting because like, that was my, because I think when I was in middle school, you know, you feel like because the school was different, and just like comparison, that's the whole thing. That's what you're saying. Yes. It's like you can't compare, you can't do anything for the sake of anybody else or comparison. Yeah. But
wait, that's so interesting. Do you feel like because I feel like what's so interesting about film and art is like you're in the moment, right? We said live in the moment, you're in the moment, but also you are kind of like the one that's like stepping over here to like capture it. Yeah. So there is something beautiful of that, of like you being like out, but like you're in the moment, but you're also like what you said before, feeling a little bit on the outside, because I wonder if like God allowed that to happen when it did to like show you, right?
Well, first off, he allowed me that to happen when it did because I needed protection at that time, 100%.
Oh, yes, you said in high school, yeah.
Totally. Like I couldn't have been involved.
Yes, like that was a blessing.
That like kind of like step backness was like 100%. Like that was God. He was like, capture it, like imagine it, like do all these things, like, you know, like be in your dreams with it, but like don't get in it.
Yeah.
I feel like that was protection, and it was a really good way to be involved but not be in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. No, but that's so interesting. I love it.
Little, like,
I love this. What is? Whoa! Is that
crazy.
A bug? Wait, he's kind of pretty.
Feel him.
Wait, is he? What is he?
It's crazy.
Wait, I love him. See, that little things like that. I'm like, that's like we have to wonder at these things because like God created that. Like think about that.
Yeah.
And why? There's this story. Yeah. Sometimes it's like again.
Look at him. This is actually insane.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't he cute?
Yeah.
Do you think he can fly? Like, do you think those are wings?
I honestly don't.
Why wouldn't he fly?
He would have left us, I think.
Do you think he likes us? But Capra, I love that. And I don't think you need to know everything right now, right? We don't need to know exactly like, oh, I have to know exactly what type of, you know, art or what I'm gonna make. Like we don't have to know that now. But go towards what I feel like the thing that I learned is like run towards what you feel like the Lord most in. Like how does he speak to you the most through like art? You're so cool. But you have such a cool testimony of like, okay, feeling like the outside and that was for protection. But now it's like, okay, and then you went to Pepperdine, right? And you went to school and you're like, now I was in this. And now that you're done, it's like, what does that look like to like, even what you're doing with this, to capture other people's stories and like encounter God through this? Like, this is like what art is like talking to people and getting to know like different stories and experiences. He's on the mic.
Yeah, he's so cool.
He's so cute. But it's like, that's what it is. And like, you're creating through that, you know? Like, yeah, I think that's so beautiful. I love you. I think it's so beautiful, like what you do. And like, I love your curiosity because the artist should be the most curious person, right? We should as artists, like, because we're capturing people's stories, we're capturing our own stories, but like we need to remain curious and like a child always. And you do a really good job with that. Like every time I've talked to you, you've always like been curious and asked questions. I'm like, wow, I want to be around people like you more, where it's always remaining from a place of like, wow, what can I learn, right? It's not like, oh, I have all the answers. Not that attitude. It's the opposite. It's like, actually, like I want to learn from your wisdom. I want to learn from yours. It's like I want.
Well, I do want to learn from.
But you. I love that, and it's so genuine in you. Like you have that authentic curiosity, and I'm like that is going to change so many people, and it already has. And it's like creating from that place of like, oh, like how do I capture this? How do I capture that? I feel like you're gonna just make really cool art. You know,
yeah,
I'm excited. I love you.
Wait, I have one more question.
Yes, anything.
Wait, I'm just curious. So, how do you see Jesus when you think of like? Because I think about that. I was thinking about. Okay, so the other day I was like listening to Zach Bryan, and there's like that feeling of just adventure that comes from his music. That's like it's beautiful. Yeah. And then I'm like whatever, hanging out with my brother, and then you're talking about Captain
Jack.
Yeah. And it's like there's something about that I feel like actually does really capture Jesus, and it's like interesting because obviously like you would think it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because what like they drink and I don't know.
Yes.
They, like, I don't even.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
I don't even know, crazy.
Yes.
But it's like there's something about that spirit. What do you think when you think of like that kind of, because if you like that wild kind of like idea, is it, where do you think, how do you see Jesus in that?
Yeah, I love that. Kind of like the, you're talking about like that kind of rebellious in a way. Like how do we see Jesus? I think part of it is Jesus, like when he was here, right, on earth, he was so authentic and so honest and so bold that he actually offended a lot of people, right? So a lot of people were offended by his teachings because what he was teaching was so radical. And he actually talked to a lot, right, of Pharisees who believed that they had all the answers, but their hearts weren't in the right place, right? And he called them out. He was like, hey. So when I look at characters like that, why I'm so drawn to them is I think I see Jesus is not going to always tell us to do the thing in the conventional way that most people will. And sometimes, like, I don't know, one of my friends said the other day, like, the gospel is offensive, right? And, like, we try to water down things so much to not offend people.
So good, so
but, like, we need to speak the truth. And, like, Captain Jack, I think why people didn't
Not the worst thing to be offended, like.
Yes, right? It's like we're so afraid of offending people.
Oh, my gosh, I am.
Right? And I need to really work on fear
I'm so good at not. It's so sad, right?
Yeah, and it's like, how do we not? And oftentimes, like, there's been moments in my life where I haven't said the thing that I feel I'm supposed to say.
So good,
But I feel like, again, going back to your question, like Captain Jack, certain characters, heroes, say the thing. Like, they actually do say the thing, and it offends people. And again, I'm not saying go be rude. No, we need to be the most loving people, kind, selfless, right? Not selfish. We need to be selfless. We need to be honoring to people. We need to build people up. We need to edify 100%. But we also need to speak the truth in love, right? And Chris, our pastor, always talks about, like, truth in love. You can't have one without the other. And I agree 100%. But if we're just speaking fluff to everyone all the time, we're not actually speaking the truth. That to me is just shallow. And I'm like, dang, characters like that you asked about, like, they spoke the truth in boldness and in courage, and Jesus did too. And I think, like, Jesus is in so many things. And I think something that my brothers taught me is through seeing a film, I'm trying to think of like an example. There's like a movie that we watched last year. It's called The Brutalist, and it's like really dark. But you're watching the film and you're watching the lead character make decisions, like do these drugs, and you're watching him do these things that you know is harming him. So you as the audience are going, no, and you're like wincing. You're like, why are you doing this? Like, it's hurting you. And my brother was like, Rita, think about God watching us. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, like, think about when God sees us make a decision that he knows it's gonna hurt us. God's like, and it's out of love that he's like, no, but he's like, okay, so why I bring that up is I'm like, whoa, movies teach us so much about God, right? And my brothers taught me that, of like the perspective of when you watch a film, you're watching it from this third party perspective, right? Yeah. How the Lord sees us, and you start to empathize. So instead of judging Captain Jack for, of course, because he made some decisions that weren't great, right? That weren't glorifying to God, right? Which we can admit, but I'm not going to judge him. I'm instead going to look and be like, dang, like, he would be a lot happier if he didn't do that one thing or keep falling into that sin pattern all the time. He would be a lot happier, right? It's like, I'm not going to judge him, but I am going to be like, okay, like, I can learn, though, from the parts where he is actually fully free and fully authentic, right? And I'm not saying pick and choose. Never, never. I'm not about, like, oh, pick and choose from the Bible. No. Like, all of that is truth, right? And we need to live in all of that. Like, that is the true word of God, 100%. But what I look at when I look at those characters in movies, I'm like, dang, I need to have more compassion, because God has so much compassion for us. So cool. Like, I need to have more compassion for my fellow brother and sister in Christ. Like, when they sin and fall short, judgment never changed anybody. That's what I realized recently. Judgment never changed anybody. And like, yes, we need to call higher. We need to speak the truth in love. But that's so true. But judgment doesn't do anything. That's so good to remember, right? When you're a parent. Yes. Yeah. No, literally, especially as parents, it's like, but what does change people? Love, right? And sometimes love does mean, hey, you're doing this thing and it's not helping you. It's actually hurting you. That is love, right? That's not judgment. But I think judgment, which we can as Christians fall into, is ostracizing people and pushing people and being like, oh, like, you did that thing, I'm never talking to you again. Or, oh, you did that thing, that's insane. Like, you're not a good Christian. It's like, that judgment isn't going to get anyone anywhere. It's actually creating bitterness in our heart. And Jesus never did that. He called things out and been like, go, sin no more. Like, he called things out in people. He was bold, but he did it in love. He cared so deeply. And, like, people were set free just talking to him for, like, even just being in his presence. Before he even said anything, people are set free. And I'm like, how do we do that? How do we live in a way where, like, even that stranger over there can, like, come up to me and just be like, whoa, I feel joy, or I feel peace. I'm like, that's what I want. Like, I want to live in a way that's so authentic that people are set free and people are more themselves and more childlike just by being around us. Like, that's my desires. I'm like, I want people to become like a child again and to enter again. It's like entering the kingdom is becoming like a child and letting God be my dad. And so I think as I watch films, I experience more compassion, more of God's heart as I watch characters, even the ones that don't make good decisions. Like, I have empathy and I'm like, dang, like, they're hurting themselves. But then the beautiful films are the ones that, you know, have redemption and they get better. They choose the right path. They choose integrity. They choose to be loyal. They choose the right thing. They choose to get better. They choose to stop sinning. They choose, and you see hope in that. And those are the films that change the world. And that's what I want to do, is just make films like that. I'm like, I want my films to, like, bring people hope, not despair. Like, I want them to bring hope and joy. That was so great. Oh, it was so fun, Camera. Thanks for doing it. I love you. I might just end up cutting it to, like, small things. Yeah. I'll do whatever. I love it. If you need anything else, let me know. Also,